Yeah, that's good. Just spin it around now. Cool. Yeah. This is I'm out here with is it Edward Carlson Brown?
Yeah, Carlson Brown. Yeah.
And sorry, Rosalind Scott. You said you were the councillor.
Councillor for Wivenhoe Keys.
And are you a proud Labour sponsor?
Absolutely, Labour. Always been a Labour supporter, and now I'm a Labour member. I haven't been a Labour member all my life, but I've been a Labour supporter all my life.
That is perfect. And
the idea is to go out, talk to people, see what's bothering them on political issues, but also things that they might not think are political. Things like potholes, but which are actually political because they have whether they get repaired or not is about political decisions that get made, and just talking to people, showing that we listen, and just sharing opinions, what politics ought to be about.
Good morning, I'm Rosalind, your Labour councillor. Just here to see if there's anything I need to know and do, and also to ask for your support.
I'm alright, thanks. I'll take a leaflet on this one.
Okay, that leaflet's for Ed, who's now parliamentary candidate. Right. If you get in touch with
there's sometimes you end up knocking on door after door and there's no answer. I'm never sure I'm never sure whether they're actually out. How many people just see those extras of last and just think, no, I'm not doing that. This is where one of the other councillors lives, so we just drop by and say hi. Just do every morning, all the usual fun things.
So you trying to become a councillor yourself, or?
Not this year. Sort of, because the problem is, if you're going to do that properly, you've got to spend a lot of time in the ward you want to represent, talking to everybody and making sure you understand all the issues. And if you're standing as a parliamentary candidate, you can't just concentrate on one area. Maybe if I don't become an MP this time, it might be something I'll look at in future. But to be perfectly honest, probably probably not immediately, because I don't know how much you know about the ways that local government works. But
really don't know a great deal.
It's basically a part-time job. You don't get a salary for it. You get allowances, but they're quite small. And the number of hours you put in mean that it's quite difficult to do any other work unless you've got a very understanding employer. So it's the sort of thing that I'd love to do, but I need to earn a wage first. And so we'll come back to that one. Come back to that one at some future time.
Yeah, that is actually a good point. There are things people don't think about.
Yep, looks like it me.
There's a thing I saw.
Yeah.
On the there was the Tories talking at the Chamber of Commerce, is it?
Sounds
and it was this meeting, but what really irritated me was he's sitting there going, you should all fear if anyone else gets in. And I was like, that's obviously just me just summing up everything he said, but he was literally that, he was saying you will fear if the UKIP get in because your taxes will go up and stuff like that. But I hated that he was using the language you will fear, you know what I mean? You should fear these people, you should fear them, and you're like, that.
No, I mean, to sort of, I think it's fair to say that the other side has got policies that are absolutely terrible. Like something like the bedroom tax, I think is abominable because it doesn't work. It's trying to get people to move to smaller housing. There isn't smaller housing, and you're therefore putting your tax on being poor and disabled. Which is, but I think, particularly with business, nobody actually wants businesses to go bust. Any government, doesn't matter how loony they were, so if that was actually happening, they would start changing.
I mean, there's quite a lot of stuff involved in being a councillor and things like that.
There's a lot of detail. It goes beyond the sort of political slogan.
Let's say that sounded like a lot of detail, just that one plan, or it might not be just one plan, but But that's the thing people don't realise, you know.
Well, yeah, I mean, one of the things about sort of being a councillor is that you will get sort of big stacks of paper delivered to you on a regular basis that you've got to read before meetings if you're doing your job properly. Hi, good morning. My name's Ed Carlson Brown, and I'm going to be your Labour parliamentary candidate in May of this year. So I'm going around asking if you've decided how you're voting and if there's any issues that are particularly concerning you at the moment that you'd like to talk to me about.
No, I will be voting Labour.
And there'll also be local elections on the same day. We've got Rosalind Scott standing for re-election. Will you be supporting her too?
Yes, I will.
Very, very glad to hear that. The other thing, can I check? There's you've got the, I think 6 people registered to vote here. I just want to check they all still live here, because otherwise it's sort of, we don't want to come around on polling day and ask people to vote who don't live here.
Yes, they will all be voting. Oh no, they won't all be voting. One son of mine never votes, so we can't persuade him out. But everybody else who does.
Which one's that?
That's Kieran.
Okay.
He, I doubt whether I think he voted once for a local council election, and the person didn't get in, and so as far as he was concerned, it was a waste of time. And so he will never vote, but everybody else.
Okay, right. I just want to check. Don't want to go around disturbing you on polling day asking somebody who's moved out a few years ago.
No, that's fine.
Thank you very much for your time.
Okay.
If you do, if you do think of anything particularly bothering you or want to get in touch, that's got my contact details on. And otherwise, thank you very much for your time.
Okay.
Have a lovely morning. Goodbye. Yeah.
It's Labour friendly, but Saturday mornings,
Well,
stopping town. But you get a different set of people every time.
Yeah, it is still a bit better than Sunday mornings.
Yes.
That just means you have to do it more than once.
That's right.
Right then.
Well, they'll see us.
So this will be 68, won't it? We got. One thing you find with doing this is you start to recognise an area a lot better, and you sort of recognising where the potholes are, so you can get them reported ahead of time rather than just having to wait until somebody complains to you about them.
Getting stuff done yourself.
Yeah, because sort of the county council's got a thing for reporting potholes online. It's a little outlet, terribly programmed, and most of the ones you report they ignore, because unless it's about the size of a football, it's not considered big enough.
So that's like a local app or just an app for the sort of country?
It's specific to the county council.
See, that's cool. I didn't know about that. That's actually a really cool idea.
It's a nice idea, but I think they coded it quite badly. So things like there's a bit for uploading a picture with it. I've never successfully managed to get the picture to upload. And then the other problem is just they've got this app, but they've got almost no budget for road repair. So if it's on a sort of a road, they'll repair it. If it's in a rural or residential area, unless it's absolutely ginormous, unless it's no longer a pothole, just a hole, then you have to keep complaining until they do anything.
Up in Colchester, they're talking about shutting the road by the hospital for a day because there's a massive pothole, and that's pretty bad.
Don't know if you saw about the Natalie Bennett thing about 10 days ago, just where she's plugged the interview. What she was talking about was sort of housing. She was saying sort of you want to build 500,000 council houses a year, which as an ambition is not a bad one, but they didn't really seem to have thought out how much the land would cost, where you're going to put 500,000 houses, how you make sure they're actually built to a decent standard. They seem to be saying that you can do it on the cheap, and if you build houses that are basically sheds. So it's sort of they like the big items of sort of we must change the world, but partly because it's sort of they haven't got used to sort of being able to win yet. They haven't thought about, well, all right, now people are giving us the chance to do it. How do we make sure that actually happens?
Yeah, well, that's what I've been sort of struggling with. You can dream a lot about making a script and writing a film, but it's hard to actually go do it. It's very hard to go do it. So it's all well and good being like, we're going to do all this. But then I read a thing in the paper, I don't know if I was just misreading or something. They've started building on greenbelt land.
They have done in the, they have done some areas. Partly it's just because there isn't enough brownfield land left. And what brownfield land often means, it means former industrial land. Often that means the land's contaminated if it's been a sort of former petrol station or whatever. Which means that if the land's contaminated, you have to completely concrete over it, seal it off.
Yeah, we've pretty much had that over in Stanway.
Yeah, and it means you have homes with no gardens, and it's not really what people wanted to sort of moving out and raise a family or whatever. It's fine for a couple of years, years if you're renting, but sort of the house that I grew up in, it's sort of built, I think, late 1970s, early 1980s, something like that, and it was clearly built on greenbelt land. But what that meant is that there were open fields quite close to me. On the back garden, you still had a fair amount of wildlife in it. I think it's sort of, you don't want to build on all the greenbelt, but you can probably build on little bits in a sensitive way without ruining the whole thing.
Like sustainable.
Yeah.
Like,
I mean, there's a difference between sort of ancient woodland and a field of oilseed rape. One of them is ecologically a lot more important than the other. So it's the old thing of how you balance a couple of competing incentives just to.
Yeah, like people need houses, but we also need greenery and stuff, or it'll suffocate from pollution and things. I know people say I sound extreme when I say that, but that's greenery makes everyone knows photosynthesis. So
if you build really high density, you are actually harming biodiversity because nothing can live there. You won't get sort of mice in the garden or whatever.
Yeah. Also, like, we'll look at London back in the 40s or 20s or way back, probably even way further than that. There was loads of smog and pollution. Or Tokyo.
Sort of up until I think the Clean Air Act was 53. But
and,
people did die on a regular basis.
There's quite a lot of horrible stuff like that, and well, you're just going to get more of that if we just build everywhere. And
I mean, that's partly what things like sort of towns like Wivenhoe, basically sort of, as they look today, they arose as a consequence of that. It's partly it was just everybody who'd been bombed out by the Blitz, because the Blitz destroyed most of East London and they needed some new homes. But also they didn't want to go back to the old cramped and polluted bit, so you built a new housing estate somewhere further out. You shifted out some of the factories at the same time, and you put people in nicer decent housing. I think that was the way to do it. You look at the way that the 50s estates were designed, and certainly the design is a lot more sympathetic than a lot of new stuff now, which is just all hemmed in and concrete and bland.
Yeah. I do accept there is a need for housing and expansion, because obviously the population grows, people have children, life goes on and expands. But then there is that whole difficult bit of if you just make big concrete blocks, which we could do, but we don't really want to, then we'll end up in 1984.
Yeah, well, I mean, if you look at tower blocks now, a lot of the ones built in the 50s are having to come down because they were built on the cheap.
Yeah.
They weren't very sympathetically laid out, and you got things like sort of walkways in the sky that basically meant that burglars had lots of escape routes, and all these unintended consequences made them much worse places to live than sort of low density terraced houses.
Also, when I was studying sociology, there's a thing we touched upon, which was when you essentially put a big load of people in a big tower block like that and you cramp them all together, like people's morale and people get more agitated and angry.
And they don't feel like a community.
Yeah, and a lot of the times it's just quite a hostile place. Well, obviously it's not every single one. But condemning all of them.
But it was a problem of sort of treating people like production units rather than people.
Which actually goes on in like China and places like that. But that's the whole thing that we try to stop here with decent politics, and that's what I want to get decent politics in. Because if people didn't pay attention to politics, we would have things like big old sweatshops and stuff like that, because it's cheap. But when do you hope to sort of get into Parliament?
We'll see what happens this time. If it doesn't happen this time, it's maybe try again some other time in the future. Maybe let somebody else have a turn. Maybe if the electorate decide not to vote for me, they might have a point. I can't insist I'm right.
No, all right.
Good morning.
Thank you.
I wasn't necessarily asking how you're voting. I was also asking if there's anything locally or nationally that's particularly concerning you at the moment. No?
Once more into the breach. Yeah, it takes a bit of balls to do this, because I know so many people that wouldn't do this because of just walking around and knocking on people's doors.
Well, my partner is she's been in Labour member for years and just doesn't like doing it. I think it probably helps that I'm incredibly socially awkward anyway. I'm sorry to disturb you. My name's Ed Carlton-Brown and I'm calling down because I'm going to be your Labour candidate at the general election in May. So I wondered if you thought about how you'd be voting and if there's any issues that are concerning you locally.
So I'm just recording this as a documentary I'm putting online for the sort of day in life of the politician.
Just wondering how much to say. Yeah, I've had a think, but I still don't know how I'm going to vote.
Oh, okay. How about on the issues? What issues are particularly important?
Well, I think basically the Labour Party's performance is absolutely dreadful. I think the Conservative Party's performance is absolutely dreadful. Same for the Liberal Democrats. So I'd probably protest anything not too far away.
Well, what would you like us to be doing that you
I'd like you to have a clear, consistent vision of a future society, rather than a jumble of policies that don't really add up and seem aimed at battling other policies. So I want vision-driven, and vision-driven, not issue-driven, and not tactically driven.
All right. Well, I think it's sort of with the vision thing is starting to come together. It's not.
Yeah, but
it's not sort of big.
How long has the Labour Party been going?
Well, yeah, but the thing is, we're not talking sort of big visions of we will entirely change things in this one area.
No, but what's the fundamental vision? What's the fundamental thing that the Labour Party is about?
I'm cracking down on inequality. I'm standing up for workers' rights.
Yeah, but exactly. Those are issues. What's the vision?
No, that is the vision. A less unequal society where people are paid more, where nobody.
Everybody's paid more.
The poorest are paid more. Things like raising the minimum wage to £8.
It's a policy.
And it's a policy that makes it policy that makes a
yes, but
difference.
it's all policies. It's a bag of policies. Now you have to have policies, obviously. And then you have to execute the policies. That's even harder. But the fact is, do they add up?
Yeah.
Can I think? Shit, I want to live in that world, not that one or this one. And that's I don't get that.
If you want a vision of sort of what we think countries should look like. More like Germany, more like Scandinavia.
No. Yes, you can keep saying these things, and I applaud you for doing it and sticking up for it and going for it. But the fact is, I'm not the only person to say this.
I know, but I'm just trying to say there is a vision there.
Yes. No, I believe you would like to have a vision, and you would like to, promulgate your vision and make it well understood, and then some people would like it, some people wouldn't, and the voting would happen. But I think while there's no vision, you're stuffed, basically. And I think the Conservatives are stuffed. That's because they even more have no vision, and they certainly have.
I think they have a vision. I just don't think it's a very appealing one.
I doubt whether they would have. No. So the answer is I don't know.
Okay.
I genuinely don't know, but I do care.
Yeah.
You could come back in a year's time, and I could be convinced to vote for you.
Yeah, but
at the moment.
All right. Okay.
You're struggling.
I'm sorry to hear that. Then.
No, that's okay. I applaud you. I mean, I wouldn't. If you were here and I was there, I'd be shitting myself. So don't. I absolutely go for it. I mean.
Well, I've got this. It's I have to say it's more about policies than vision, but that's got my contact details. If there's anything you want to. talking to me about. And
Certainly, okay.
otherwise, thank you very much for your time.
And you live in Alresford?
Yeah.
That's close enough, I guess. Okay, good luck.
Thank you,
Thanks
sir.
a lot. Goodbye.
That was an interesting one.
Yeah. It's, I personally don't see the things sort of your principles and your vision being at all separate, but.
I can sort of get where he's coming from, but I also agree with you. Like, your principles are what make your vision, sort of thing. But at the same time, I get where he's saying where the government isn't sitting there going...
For a few weeks every 5 years, we make a bit of an effort.
I've had a little bit of that. People seeing my stuff on the internet going, oh, you're making zombie films. I'm like, no.
In most cases, yeah. It's generally people vote if they're more settled in an area, if they're better off, if they're higher educated. And these tend to be groups that the Conservatives do best in. Good morning. My name's Ed Carlson-Brown, and I'm calling around because this May I'll be your Labour candidate in the general election. So I wondered, A, if you thought at all about how you'd be voting in that, and B, if there's any local or national issues that are particularly concerning you at the moment that you'd like to talk to me about.
There probably are, but yeah, not really. I'm not sure.
I'm sort of. I'm having sort of things like. Are you affected by the streetlights going off during the night?
Of course, everyone is.
Yeah. Well, that one, Colchester Borough Council. The Labour group on there, we persuaded the Lib Dems that the district council is going to put the money up to pay the county council to do it, because the county council, the Tories on the county council are refusing to do it. It's a money-saving thing that bizarrely doesn't actually save money.
Well, no, it is ridiculous, and the fact that they go on at 5 in the morning when no one is around anyway. So that is something I do.
Yeah. So so that one certainly sort of your Labour councillors locally have been working hard on. Okay. We're hoping to deliver on. How about do you use NHS services? All right. Well, that one is obviously Colchester Hospital has been in all sorts of problems recently. A lot of it is basically just because they're short-staffed and their budget's in a terrible state, so they're having to make cutbacks that make things worse. So what Labour's going to do nationally, we're going to raise £2 billion from a tax on cigarette manufacturers and a tax on bankers' bonuses, and we're going to use it to hire 10,000 more nurses, 8,000 more doctors, and 5,000 more midwives, in a hope to give people a bit more time to care. And also going to guarantee that if you ask for an appointment with your GP, you're guaranteed one within 48 hours. Because at the moment the wait is pretty big, but with a few small changes, you can really cut that down. So we think that would make a big difference.
All right. Well, thanks.
All right. Well, thank you for listening. Thank you for listening. That's got my contact details on, and a little bit about me. I'm from Alresford, so next village over. I know this area. Thank you very much. And thank you for your time. Goodbye.
Like, well, not sue, but like fine people that are really unethical and then reward. Yeah, I mean I totally believe in ethical capitalism as a. Looking at the future MP, or the future PM, I meant to say.
Try to help us all. Because it's cheaper, you get the lights more focused, so you get less.
Oh,
less
like LED street lights.
Yeah, but they refused to apply for that, and
so instead of LED street lights, they put all those things that cost tons.
Just can get a photo of these potholes.
Oh, no worries. There's quite a lot on this road. I noticed one right down the other end.
There's some really terrible ones down that way. These I'll report them. I suspect they're probably not going to be big enough to do anything about, but it's worth giving a yell at them. That one's. That's probably deep enough, I might get a decent answer from them.
There's a bit on the little cul-de-sac I live in. There's at the end of it. Pretty much gets repaired every 2 years, I think, because like everyone drives down my road. Drives down the road next to my road. Gets to the end because every sat nav tells you can drive straight through the road.
Yep.
And there's bollards right in the centre of the road. It's 2 different roads.
Yep.
So then everyone drives around, turns around on the end of our cul-de-sac, and drives off. But it means just the fucking road is annihilated. And like every January they're pretty much out there repairing it.
Yeah, it also means part of the problem is sort of road repairs. It works the first time, but the more you repair it, the more you weaken the surface.
Oh, isn't there anything like better? Like just slap on it. Because it's this weird, like, it's not even tarmac at the moment. It's like the orangey concrete-y stuff. Not like slow tyres. Not that stuff.
Yeah.
I don't even know what the fuck it is, but it's weird. But I think it's shit and it breaks constantly. Yeah. It's like that. Like that stuff. I don't know. I never know stuff like that. Then potholes just. It's a never-ending battle. It seems with potholes.
But I mean, the sort of thing is, you know, if you want roads don't just build them and forget about them. They do cost money to upkeep. Local government, seriously, currently underfunded, trying to do things on the cheap, and it mostly depends on sort of applying for grants for sort of one-off money to do something. Whereas what it really needs is money for sort of maintenance, so that when you've got something you can keep it up. And yeah, well, you really see that with something like potholes, where you've just got lots of roads, no money for maintenance, so you don't get repairs. When you do get the repairs, they're terrible. They break again, then you do it again. It's a vicious cycle. Which
the stuff that, like in Colchester, one of the big things that seems to take the piss that I talk to a lot of people about is like the art centre.
Yeah.
We got that new art centre, cost 28 million to build. People look at that and they don't go, "Ooh, we've got a 28 million art centre." They go, "Why did they spend 28 million on that when we've got roads that are falling apart?" You know what I mean? And it's like,
yeah, although part of the problem with that one is sort of a lot of the time people go sort of, "Why did we build that?" And you know, probably it was not the right thing to do. Thing is, you've got it now, and it's sort of if you don't use it, you lose out on both.
It's already there, yeah. So we should at least turn it into something good, so that it at least isn't a waste of £28 million. But at the same time, that's one thing where it's like, well,
I mean, sort of, it was a big flashy thing of look what we're doing, rather than a but you know, it doesn't have to be flashy. I think the bits people like about local government isn't when your council builds something big and flashy. It's when your local council councillor turns up and goes, all right, so there's a problem with the drains. Right, I'll get onto the water board, see if we can get those cleared out.
Yeah, that's all fixed now. Oh, yay, the roads are fixed. Oh, that's good. You know, that's the stuff people want, not this giant building hidden behind loads of derelict buildings.
Yeah, we got sort of it's you kind of see it with sort of all parties, sort of the enthusiasm they sometimes have for elected mayors. They want a big name person who is a character and who will get things done. But the electorate don't want that. They just want things to quietly get done without having to have a song and dance about it.
Isn't there a big old song and dance or talk? I don't know. Because I see these things in the paper. I don't know if it's just like, you know, paper rubbish or if it's real talking and that. Saying stuff about Boris Johnson becoming Prime Minister or something.
Well, he's going to become. He's standing as an MP in what he's 99% certain to win. It's a pretty safe seat.
Lots of people love Boris Johnson.
He's not very good at playing second fiddle to people, so I think he wouldn't be running to be an MP if he didn't think that the Tories were going to lose the election and then he'd have a shot at running to be leader. I don't know whether the Tories will actually pick him on the basis that because he's not a team player, he's probably annoyed quite a lot of people. But yeah, I think certainly sort of he figures he'd quite like to give it a go. Because humility is not one of his strong points.
Did you also hear another person who wants to give it a go?
Theresa May is the one who's often tipped.
Yeah, but I mean someone that really, really is terrible. Jeremy Kyle said that he wants to get into politics.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
Although actually, so Jerry Springer did have a brief political career, apparently.
But still, I would not like
Yeah,
to
no,
be in a
no,
world
it-
where
it-
Jeremy Kyle was making the decision.
He's really good at talking to people. He understands people on a very basic level, and he uses his powers for evil.
Yeah, but that's the thing. Like, the
You
main thing,
don't want somebody who's. I mean, it's basically a sociopath, isn't it?
Thing is, he's also got an addiction to gambling that's lost him almost everything he has, and then you're like, I don't know. He just preaches all this stuff, and you're like, you're not a good role model.
No.
But then it worries me that if he did start politics, there's a lot of people that would vote for him, because there's a lot of people that watch the Jeremy Kyle show. And that was one thing that has my doubts about politics, because it's just like, well, what if that douche gets in just because everyone likes the cut of his...
I mean, this is the important thing about engagement, because politics is just this sort of, oh, I've seen that bloke on TV. It doesn't work as well in this